Alright, kiddos, it's time to talk about politics and economics. I had hoped that I could avoid such things on this channel. This is not a political channel, it's a fucking entertainment channel, it's a hobby, and I don't want to fucking pollute this shit with fucking politics and shit, but it's getting to the point that I just have to talk about some things. So, we're gonna start off with the whole big shebang about net neutrality. And I'm sure everyone and their fucking grandma has already talked about this, and you've already listened to them. But, I mean, I haven't watched any of those videos myself, but I don't think they're going to talk about it the way that I'm going to. See, you know, they're all, of course, voicing their concerns about stuff like throttling and, you know, paying for fast lanes and everybody else that doesn't pay extra, even though they were already paying for a fucking internet provider, getting lumped into a fucking slow lane. And of course, that's liable to happen, of course, knowing fucking the greed of man. But that's not the main point here. The issue at hand is that people, it's not, I shouldn't say people. It's not people in general, but some people don't think that's going to happen. They do not understand the inherent greed of humanity. And I might sound like, I might come across as some kind of fucking communist revolutionary here, but I'm not. I'm a fucking centrist, alright? I mean, technically I'm on the left side of the fucking spectrum, but I'm not some kind of anti-capitalist fucking revolutionary Che Guevara t-shirt fucking college SJW, alright? I'm a centrist. I don't like violent radicals on either side, and they do exist on both sides in case you're really fucking ignorant. You can look it up for yourself, like literally anybody on either side will go like, those people on the other side are maniacs. And, you know, they do use examples. Both sides use examples that do exist. But anyway, yeah, net neutrality, unregulated capitalism, and the greed of man. See, I've run into a lot of problems, you know, related to the net neutrality thing with ancaps and other sort of radical libertarians. Maybe they're not all radical, but, you know, people that are strongly libertarian. They see the state as some ooga booga bad guy, and they think that regulating business is not their business. They think the government should not be, sticking themselves into another man's business, which is quite fallacious. I mean, considering that the fact that the state, you know, the government, is made up of hundreds upon hundreds of people. That's just the federal government in D.C. is made up of hundreds of people that were elected to represent the population of the United States of America. So yes, it is their business to regulate business. It is well within their right to fucking do that shit, to protect the consumer. What ANCAPs don't understand is that greedy corporations, I mean, I don't want to stereotype or generalize here, but typically they don't care very much about protecting the consumer themselves. They just care about the buying power. They don't care if the consumer is happy or not, as long as they're buying their products. I mean, that might sound kind of fallacious itself, until you realize that happened in history within the United States and across the whole West. It was called the Gilded Age. You should look it up. It was this time during the big old industrial revolution and the huge expansion of industry that, oh, such progress. We built railroads everywhere, built big old skyscrapers and all that good stuff. But there was a dark underside to all of that. Hundreds upon hundreds of workers would die in each big construction project. I realize sometimes that is unavoidable, but considering the rest of what happened during that time, you can't help but wonder if they could have done better. Considering the fact that they could fire people back then for demanding humane working conditions. They could fire people because they went to management and were like, hey, this staircase is fucking unstable, and I'm very concerned every time I walk on it, and I'm not sure I'll be able to continue working like that, and they'll just fire them. You could get fired for saying, hey, my fucking fingers are falling off because of the chemicals we're using here in this fucking, I don't know, fucking meat packing plant, and they'll fire you. I mean, you don't want to work there in the first place. Ugh. I mean, obviously they need those jobs, and you can't have people working in inhumane conditions like that. But they did back then. And that was when the whole big progressive movement spawned. You know, presidents like Teddy Roosevelt and William Howard Taft, you know, they were big proponents of progressivism. They wanted to, you know, dismantle all of the corporate trusts that were monopolizing industries and, you know, enact laws and stuff that protected the worker and the consumer. And throughout that whole big process, things became closer and closer to what our society is like now. And again, if you don't believe me, you can just look it up. The Gilded Age, it's a thing. I literally learned about this in school. Like, it was a whole big section of history class. I'm sure you could find plenty of information on it. Anyway, that's one thing that ancaps don't seem to know about. The second thing is, they're oh so holy NAP, the NAP, the non-aggression principle. It's a fucking fairy tale. There's no reason that anybody in a society where the state does not do shit, or if it doesn't exist at all, there's no reason that anybody would be forced to abide by that. If somebody can do something underhanded or dirty or outright violent to get an edge over their competitors, there is no reason they will not do it. And then as soon as one person does it, everybody's gonna do it. The NAP completely falls apart the second anybody decides to do anything shifty. People just... ancaps have a very, very optimistic view of humanity, despite their fucking hate for the state, which is made up of people. You know, whatever. That totally makes sense. Anyway, yeah, that's those are the main two problems here. The proponents of this kind of shit, they don't understand history. They don't even understand humanity. They don't understand the state. They don't understand corporations. I mean, they might know how they function and shit, but they don't know. They don't understand what motivates people to get to those positions of power. People start companies to make money. They might have some other purpose, like, oh, I want to create this new product that will help people. But people aren't doing that anymore. Their business practices have been slowly deteriorating over the past decade. Like, you can see this sort of thing in the gaming industry, for example. What we used to get in the base game of, whatever game, in the vanilla version of whatever game, just 10 years ago, we would have gotten complete games back then. But now we have shit like Battlefront, which is, ooh, it's just microtransaction hell. And there's tons and tons of other games like that are being released now. They are so low effort. They're low effort, cash cow fucking animal farms, alright? It's... I don't know how anybody cannot see that business practices are deteriorating. People are not innovating anymore. Over the past 2 decades, there have been plenty of innovators, been huge leaps in technological and societal progress and whatnot. But now people are just stagnating. They're not doing anything new or exciting. They're just trying to milk people. And that's all it is. It just comes down to they want to make money. How can they make money? Oh, they can make money by forcing you to pay for everything, despite the fact that you were already paying for half of it, and getting the other bit free as a part of, the bit that you were paying for. But no. They have to make you pay for everything. That's just how their greedy little minds work. You can't be too optimistic. I mean, technically you can be too optimistic, but I'm saying you shouldn't be too optimistic. But you shouldn't be too pessimistic either. Having an ultra-pessimistic outlook on society will just make you hate everyone, and you'll have no friends, and it'll be terrible. I know this because I've had that outlook for some time. And if you're too optimistic, like these anarcho-capitalists and whatnot, well, that just basically makes you look like an idiot. Especially if you're an ANCAP, because somehow corporations are morally better than the state, even though the state is made up of people that were elected to represent the little consumer, unlike corporations that, just want to do good by their investors. But, whatever. Yeah. Moral of the story, what can be exploited will be exploited. And this goes for the government too, for the state. I'm not saying that the government isn't corrupt, because it is. It's not entirely corrupt, but it has a significant amount of corruption within it. But it's less dangerous than a completely unhinged, unregulated megacorporation. Because the state It has different purposes. It has different goals. It's made up of hundreds upon hundreds of people on all levels. And they're not, you know, they're not all corrupt. Hundreds and hundreds of people. Some corrupt, some not corrupt. It's, they have different purposes for being there. They have different goals. They have a different way of getting things done. And that makes them less dangerous than a corporation that has been totally unhinged, unregulated, totally free to do whatever they want with all their money. The state, however, has obligations and rules it must follow. Yes, the state is regulated by a piece of paper called the Constitution, and everyone in this country must abide by it. If you take away the country, you take away the Constitution. When you have anarchy, there are no rules. There are principles, but not everyone's going to follow those principles. Principles in a society where no one enforces them are useless unless you're trying to lead a revolution. And if you are trying to lead a revolution, well, you're just going to end up with what you started with, with a state. Because what else would you be trying to establish in an anarcho-capitalist society? But, yeah. People are greedy. Not everyone's greedy, but generally people who go out and try to gain power and stuff like that, a lot of times they are greedy, especially if it's in a private organization and they're not in, public office. If they're in a private organization, a corporation that's built entirely upon making money, chances are they're going to be greedy as hell. And ending net neutrality, it's going to result in some bad shit. We've already faced shit like this in the past. And it's not something we should go back to. The internet has been free for as long as any of us can remember. I mean, maybe not some of the older people, but it should stay how it is. There should not be biases on the internet. There should not be fast lanes and slow lanes. I already pay a shit ton of money for a fast internet provider. Alright, I guess it's not really a shit ton of money, but it's more than, a normal service. And having to pay for a ton of shit on top of that, that is utter bullshit. It's unacceptable. That's what it is. There are a few things that I will openly talk about with a strong opinion. And this is one of them. This is going too far. It's just going too far. There's no real reason for this apart from corporate money milking. They just want to milk the consumer And let me tell you, the consumer is not happy to be milked. And a lot of consumers, probably the majority, are in no condition to be milked. People are struggling enough with what they already pay for. This is just unacceptable. This is like this is pretty much as bad as fucking SJWs blocking movies and censoring people and shit. This is bad. This is quite bad. This is decidedly, definitely bad. And it's quite bad. It's really significantly bad. It's like... what can I say? I've already expressed everything. At least everything off the top of my head. This is unacceptable. Plain and simple. This is going to affect all of us if it ends up coming to fruition. So we should do everything we can to make sure it doesn't. The alternative is the internet equivalent of the Gilded Age. Can't access this site because you haven't paid for it. Oh, can't access this site because it's being provided by Verizon and you use Comcast. Oh, your internet is gonna be slow as balls. You can't even watch fucking videos on YouTube without waiting for them to buffer for an hour. Like, sorry, our investors, they require lightning fast internet to download 2 terabytes of porn every second. It's quite necessary for our investors, I'm sure you understand. Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't, you fucking plebeian. Ha ha ha. This is just... I have not come across any argument for it that's not just, the state shouldn't regulate things, it's none of their business, like... We've been... we haven't even had the internet for free. We've all paid for an internet provider. We all pay our bills to have what internet we have. And if you want to go and add a bunch of bullshit to it already, like we already had all this, but no, let's just take half of it and hide it behind a paywall. In fact, after we've already put half of it behind a paywall, let's set up tons of other paywalls behind that paywall. Great, we can now make everybody pay for all the things because they really want those things. And now they have to pay for them. Ha 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 ha. Now we're going to get lots of money. It's a terrible business practice. Stop doing that. It's bad. Everybody hates you. I mean, except fucking ancaps, but ancaps don't count. They're fucking retarded. They're autistic children that were deprived of oxygen in the womb and then dropped on their heads. Their opinion doesn't fucking count. And it is most decidedly an opinion. It is not even close to anything resembling fact. Anarcho-capitalism is so shitty it can be debunked with memes! With fucking memes! That's how shitty it is! I think this concludes my little rant here. So yeah, till next time, everybody. This has been your boy, Sigus Wolf. Goodbye.